Look, it works. I built it with Meccano. The opening quote from the book, The Story of Meccano, by the Meccano Boy. Hi! If you want even more Meccano goodness, why don't you check out my Patreon channel? And please like and subscribe and leave a comment below. I post updates in the community section, not only for this week's Patreon build, but also for what I'm currently working on. Thank you, and back to the build. Hi, and welcome back. These scripts are an interesting time capsule in some ways. As I've been writing them before the channel is launched, I've discussed problems that I've faced in the creation stage. But by the time you're listening to this, the channel will be around 5 months old. I have no idea where this journey will take me. As I've said before, it is almost a kind of therapy. It is forcing me to push my brain and create something and face things that are far outside of my comfort zone. I'm having to learn new skills. And I would say at this point, I'm not very good at them. But after all, new skills are the beginning that you can build upon. But one of the things in my life at this point is that I'm very grateful for where I am and what I have. It might sound a strange thing to say, but I count my blessings a lot more these days. Right now, I'm living a life I'd not planned for and definitely didn't see coming. And this is the bizarre part. As my life becomes more focused around the support and care my mother needs, the drive and push for more has changed. I still want a nice life. Who doesn't? But a nice life has changed. A slower, quieter life, enough money to live, and to enjoy the things I want, is now all I desire. As I close my business down to provide the greater and greater demands that were being placed for the care needed, I got to see a different side of life. Sometimes our journey is like a river, fast flowing with rocks and rapids that beat against us, with the sudden drops of the waterfall that has us plummeting downwards, hearts hammering. And other times we are slowly drifting with the current, just holding pace. When I got divorced, I got to see a life with no conflict, and I thought that was heaven. I grew my business, employed people, fought for contracts, and for the first time in 20 years had spare money, nice cars, and I felt I was there. I had arrived, and this was heaven. And as my father's health failed, and then my mother began her decline, I walked away from it. I might not be in heaven, but at last I am at peace. For it is in our darkest moments, when we're lost in the woods, that we get to see the path clearly. One of the things that the builds bring me is a time where I'm focused on the here and now. Something that I've not done for years. They almost become a form of meditation, if that's the right imagery. The research is always a fun part of the scripting for me. It's another part that allows me to explore and forget for a while the problems that seem to pester and nag on me daily. Those moments of clarity and focus are times to store and harvest. They give me so much energy as I find my brain is rarely at rest. The planning for this channel has shown that to me so well. And if we're not careful, we overplan and never step off the cliff edge. Which after all is the whole point of the planning and preparing. The design stage, the planning and the preparing, allows the foundation to be built for the success to happen. It is the basic stage of building. This week's builds don't exist in the real term of being based on a prototype. They are nice models. The delivery truck might have a prototype, but if so, I've been unable to find it, which is a failure on my part. Neither of them is a difficult model to construct. The engineering in them is nothing new or complicated. So, what is the purpose? Frank Hornby, in his design of Meccano, was trying to teach the theory of building on past success. The theory holds that to succeed in life, you have to have self-worth. And self-worth has to have a foundation that you have achieved something before. So the next stage is nothing more than a development of that previous goal. Equally as important is to understand that failure is good. Or maybe a better way of looking at it is to say that failure is a useful tool to learn from. So without it, we have no benchmark to see a base level, and without the success, we have no ladder to climb. So we need to both succeed and fail to be a well-balanced person. At the end of the 19th century, there was a movement to make toys that were educational as well as fun. In what was, at the time, the beginning of the psychology that underpinned the realization of child development. Those keystones of our young life that help us build a sound basis to understand what is to come and to have resilience against general life. The origins of what was later to be Meccano started off as an idea to improve on the humble building block. And through the sheer brilliancy of the design of Meccano, coupled with a flair for marketing, Frank Hornby brought us a toy that taught so much, but also gave you the baseline to build upon success. And from the beginning, Meccano was marketed as something you did with others. It was about teamwork. If you became stuck on one aspect, there would be a number of you to work through it. Even in the marketing of the product, the instruction manual showed two boys, based on Frank Hornby's sons, working together to solve the problem. It is, or was at least, in essence, a father-son project toy. So, in the two builds in this week's videos are meant, in my opinion, to be one of those models that are there to help build that baseline of success, while not pushing the line too far. These models are meant to be an easy hit of dopamine, while being hard enough to have to work for. They are meant to help you remember that when you are faced with the next problem, you succeeded on this one. But as the challenges get harder, it is difficult not to be arrogant and think that you will succeed because you always do. William Pollard, an English clergyman from the mid-19th century, is quoted as saying, "Learning and innovation go hand in hand. The arrogance of success is to think that what you did yesterday will be sufficient for tomorrow." But the words that we use as young children help to lay those foundations. I can remember so clearly being told by my teacher when I was 10 that I was stupid because I couldn't spell my name correctly. The ending is RY, a Welsh version to the English name, which ends REY. For a full term, I had this drummed into me. Every day I would be ridiculed by the teacher in front of the class that I couldn't spell my own name. And on an evening, when I asked my parents, I'd be told firmly that my name was correct. At last, at the beginning of the second term, there was a parents' evening, and the question of my name must have been raised. The following day I was told that I was wrong when I used the English spelling, and not the Welsh one. It left me very confused at the time. After all, I was both wrong and wrong, even when I was right. My first encounters with Meccano as a child were not positive ones as such either. I've always loved the idea of Meccano, but my inability to construct anything that did not resemble a newborn baby giraffe, which was just about unable to support its own weight on its unstable legs. And that's the point to this. To be resilient, you have to have success, and to learn from your failures. What I learned was that I was a stupid failure, because I never seemed to learn. My siblings went off to university and had great lives, good jobs, and succeeded at life, and I failed. But that's not true. That was a preset story that the inner child has told the adult. Do I wish, as an adult, that the 10-year-old me had the ability to learn from its failures, to be able to challenge the teacher and point out that the intervention which was taking place daily was neither holistic, meaningful, or purposeful in its intended outcome, and viewing it from Maslow's hierarchy of life as being very destructive for the young mind of the child? Yes. But I think it would probably have gone completely over her head. The lesson that I somehow missed in life was that to everything there is an opposite. That you have to see the other side. That any education system is flawed. It is, after all, about learning an academic predetermined pathway. And I can assure you it did little to help grow the dyslexic child that struggled to understand what the hell the adult was prattling on about, and failed to see that my skill set would have placed me firmly into a therapeutic career path. And I don't hold this against the education system. I've learned so much in life because I want to. Because those skills and knowledge inspire me to better myself. But that my foundation for those skills come back to half a dozen amazing teachers and my parents who tried so hard to teach the problem child that it could learn. So, thank you, Mrs. Collins, Fred Robson, Lou, a blind man on a galloping horse could see that boy, Parker. Mrs. Hoff, whose advice and health ed to the girls in the class when it came to contraception was a sharp whack with 2 cleggies. A cleggie is half a house brick. What's being whacked I will leave to your imagination. Mr. Matthews, who taught me that maths was not witchcraft and dark arts. I'm still not 100% sure on that. And Mrs. Hickson, who gave me a lifelong love of cooking and whose recipes I have shared with my daughter. Without their tireless work to show me I could learn and that I did have a brain and that success is a building you have to continue to work on, I would not be where I am now. In fact, this channel would not exist. But also I've learnt at times you need to slow down and stop. Let the river carry you. And look at the path you have walked to see where you have come from. Because that hindsight helps you realise that maybe you have built more than you thought you could.